Hi, everyone, and welcome to Dear Katie, the podcast that amplifies courageous voices and real stories of resilience, healing, and hope after trauma. Katie Koestner was the first woman to speak out publicly as a survivor of date rape. In the early 1990s, she appeared on the cover of Time magazine, sparking a nationwide conversation about the realities of sexual violence. She is the founder of the Take Back the Night Foundation and the host of the Dear Katie podcast. Inspired by the many letters Katie has received over the last 20 years, each week, Katie interviews survivors, healers, and experts to honor their stories and explore the many paths to healing and hope. Before we begin, please know, many episodes of Dear Katie cover sensitive topics related to sexual violence, trauma, and recovery. Listen with care and take the space that you need to take care of yourself. Your well-being is what matters most. Now, let's join Katie and today's guest for a conversation that matters.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Dear Katie podcast. This is Katie Koestner, and as all of you know, it has been such a lifelong journey myself since age 18, the whole cover of Time, but it was just a deliberate choice to use my voice and speak out, and that is the strength of every single guest on the podcast, using their voice, their strength, their survivorship to help all of us unite and thrive and not just sink into what might feel like a long dark tunnel sometimes. So I am absolutely delighted to tell you about Dr. Kelly Barron. But I just remind everyone, if you're journeying along, please get out that pen and pad or that, type wherever you're typing it or writing it or experiencing it, and do self-care the whole way out. I haven't talked about this in a while, but Kelly's bio really made me think about, again, how important it is experiencing 360, and whether it be a smell that you need to smell while you're listening, or something, a visual, a touch, a tactile thing, whatever helps you really absorb and listen and feel safe as you hear each and every one of the episodes. So again, welcome back, listeners, and welcome, Kelly. So Dr. Kelly Barron is a dedicated advocate for women's health. She specializes in empowering women to navigate menopause and other key life transitions with confidence and strength. She's a licensed chiropractor, menopause specialist, and the founder of Tempesta and host of the Kel Fire Show. Oh my goodness. So welcome, Kelly.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you for having me on today. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always like to start at the beginning. I mean, especially because you do menopause and childbirth, you're beginning, middle, and end of a woman's journey. So where did your journey begin as a child?
I grew up in Long Island, New York. I'm 54 now, so we're back in the 70s, 80s. It was the best era ever, in my opinion.
Very fun. Well, wait. So let's just reminisce, because I'm not that much younger than you. So bell bottoms were the first thing, right? And then did you have that stage? No one will remember this, but electric pink socks and gloves.
Oh, yeah. It was like the whole Madonna era.
Yeah. We were all trying to set ourselves free with Madonna.
Yeah, absolutely.
Except we were definitely not allowed to wear those bustiers to school.
No, but the big plastic earrings and the bracelets and everything that matched, and it was so gaudy, but it was so much fun. And Wang and all their colors.
Oh,
yeah.
It was wild. And parachute pants, the cool boys.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember? Or no, they called them banana pants, I think. Maybe at some point.
Do they?
I think so.
I always just called them NC Hammer pants. I was like, oh, you have NC Hammer pants on.
Yeah, well, you always knew who was fashionable and who was keeping up. And even though it was 5 cents for something, it was oh my gosh, you somehow acquired the bangle.
Yeah.
Your parents were allowing you to buy plastic things.
Yeah. If we could go back to those prices, would be amazing.
Oh, yeah. If only a bangle was 5 cents. But anyway, so that was okay, so you're on Long Island then?
Yep. I was on, I am now currently in Charleston, South Carolina. But
I
grew up, went to high school in Long Island, New York, and then I moved south to Atlanta, Georgia. I started college in New York at Hofstra University, and then I transferred to Life University in Atlanta, Georgia, which is a chiropractic school, and I matriculated into their graduate program to become a chiropractor. So I lived in Atlanta for well over 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was complete extremes from New York to Atlanta. I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I was able to experience different area of the country. But then I moved when I graduated. My husband, who at the time was my boyfriend, also went to Life with me. So we both became chiropractors. And then we moved to Denver, Colorado, and we lived there for 16 years and had chiropractic practice out there. And then moved to lovely Charleston in 2014, which I think is pretty much my forever home now.
Okay. And Charleston is right on the water side. I think there's like,
yep.
The whole ocean is next door, right?
Yep. We are right on the water. I'm a couple miles at best from the beach. So it's really beautiful.
Okay. Gotcha. So then, and actually, when you were at Hofstra, were you studying something in particular before you left for chiropractic to become a chiropractor?
Oh yeah, I had grand plans of being a history teacher, so that or journaling, communications, things like that. And then as we found out, boy, you pivot so many times in your life, and I made a hard pivot all the way to chiropractic. So it was an interesting journey.
Yeah, that was a massive decision. And I guess, was there any, I always think when we make such big choices, sometimes we're running from or running to, or that was, you went from north to south. So was there any part of it that related to something bigger going on emotionally or otherwise in your life with family?
Both my now husband and I, we both came from divorced families that divorced when we were in our teens. We met in our teens. So for us, it was to just, get away. Things were so chaotic between the both families that we just thought, let's just get out of here and start a different life and be on our own. At that time when you're 19 and early 20s and you come from that era, you should already have a job, you should have a house, you should have kids. So we left.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. And but so you had met the boyfriend in high school or college?
I had just graduated high school. He was older. So we actually met, we ended up working together. That's how I met him. I had been working in a conference center in Long Island, and he came to work there as well. And that's where we met and then sort of followed each other away.
Gotcha. And I guess I have a totally different question in thinking about all the guests we've had. Kelly, I know we haven't talked about exactly the survivor part of your journey in life, but I personally, I'll share this with you too, and maybe our listeners, because I try and share one little thing that maybe I haven't talked about on the show each time it comes to me. And some people are like, how did you get through, being 18 and the whole thing I went through, Kelly, college rape, first ever to talk publicly. And the reason why I bring it up is I had really nice high school boyfriends. Like before this whole college thing, I thought boys could be very nice and thoughtful and kind. So it wasn't a vendetta against men because I knew some good guys, even though I had no brothers myself. Like I knew there were good boyfriend type material out there. So I guess we haven't talked about when and what happened with the assault, but had you already met your boyfriend, now husband, at the time?
I did. So it occurred on our way from New York to move to Atlanta. Prior to that decision, we stopped. I say stopped. We stopped for a year in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and we were pretty sure we were going to go to chiropractic school, but we just took some time, tried to figure our lives out. And so I was waiting tables and I was a cocktail waitress, and I had just gotten, it was my first night on the job of, I got into the big club where it was so hard to get into as a server. And when you got in there, you knew you were going to make really good money. And so you're that young and you haven't really started a career yet. That was like the epitome. And I got hired into that club and started, it was my first night cocktailing. And I had come out into the parking lot. The club was closing down. Everybody was going home. And I at the time was somewhat introverted and walked out with everybody into the parking lot, but realized I had left my jacket behind. And I didn't think anything of it. I went back into the club.
Kelly, like, isn't that so bizarre now that you look back? Like the small little things.
One little thing changed the multiverse.
No.
Little thing. And I went back into the club, grabbed my jacket, and just walked right back out into the parking lot, thinking nothing. And let me just tell you, I'm the daughter of a retired police officer. So you would,
oh my God,
you would think these things would be imprinted on my brain. But I walked out and I went to my car and I put the key almost all the way into the lock to open because, we didn't have fancy little car openers. We didn't have key cards.
Of course not.
And I put the key in, and in a row of cars facing me, down on the ground, I did not see, was a man. And he jumped up and came right at me. And I started running, and I was running through the parking lot, and he somehow caught my ponytail from the back.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And from there, he got me to the ground. He was... Wow, this is the first time I've ever gotten emotional about it.
Oh my gosh. No, Kelly, I think it's like, I feel already like we're so similar in a lot of our experiences because let's just take a moment. Like when you said your dad was retired police, my dad was FBI.
Oh, wow.
And I like the same situation, and you think we know better. And then it's these micro moments and, the woulda, coulda, shouldas just haunt us. And I think it's really important for our listeners to think like, it's okay. Like Kelly and I, we're older.
Right.
And our assault happened like 30 years ago.
Exactly.
Plus, right? Like it was 30 years ago for both of us. And we, here we are, and it doesn't go away. It's so poignant and so unbelievably devastating. But it also can become just our greatest strength if we sit with the pain and find a way through it. And so, my gosh, Kelly, I don't mean to make you traumatized, but I think it's really like kind of good to sit with it at different points in your life, like you did something, and we're about to hear more, but that moment, and I could see you in the parking lot. I could see you going back for your jacket. I'm like envisioning your jacket's either some cool black leather or green leather, like awesome with the zippers. I don't know. I'm imagining your jacket being like this real cool, like back then, fun jacket, not just like the puffers that exist now. Like it was probably cool and fashionable, and there you were with it on, and it wasn't even probably that cold, but I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
So
it was it actually what it was it was part of my uniform.
Oh.
So it wasn't, well, it had like palm trees and flamingos on it. So maybe it was cool. But I went back because I was deathly afraid that I was going to lose this jacket and I was going to be fired that day. So that's really part of why I ran back for it. But then to go on a little bit further, so ultimately the man got me to the ground and just started smashing, he had my ponytail from the back of my head and he just started smashing my face into the pavement and then trying to choke me. And he was on top of me. That I you feel like it goes on forever. It could have been a minute. I don't even know. But I did get incredibly lucky that at some point, the manager and one bartender, they were still in the club. I did not know that. And they walked into the parking lot and ran over. And it took two guys to pull him off of me. And it took a long
time.
And then they immediately called the cops. What we found out was that he had gotten kicked out of the club earlier, that he was strung out on meth, I think it was, and just waited I was just the unlucky human that was there.
Hi, this is Katie Koestner, and I wanted to remind all of our listeners about the free National Sexual Assault Legal Hotline. We at Take Back the Night have assembled an incredible team of attorneys, trauma-informed, who truly believe survivors and want to support their journeys in healing and finding justice. The Get Justice Hotline is 567-SHATTER, or feel free to fill out a form on the Take Back the Night website, share your story, let the attorneys know what's going on, and they will get back to you as soon as possible with all of your legal options. That is a service we are delighted to provide through Take Back the Night.
But the story gets worse because the police officers came, and because this gentleman, he was very well known in the community. I didn't know of him, but he built several establishments, bars, restaurants, the Dollhouse. So he was, the cops were unfortunately very good buddies, or didn't want to upset him. So their response to asking me, "Are you okay?" And I was just staring at him. There's blood, there's marks all over me, and I'm just in shock. And the bartender and the manager said, "We'll just take her across the street and get her a drink. She'll be fine." And the cop,
oh my God, I want to scream so loud.
And the cop said, "Okay, that sounds good. You got her. We'll take care of this." And I just stood there and I said, "No, I need to go home." And we didn't have cell phones. I couldn't call anybody. It dawned on me to ask to be escorted back into the club and use a payphone or something like that. So they just...
One question, Kelly, just for context, so our listeners know, this would have been what, 90?
It was 94, I believe. Yeah. No, 92.
Yeah, I was going to think 92 based on everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, and sitting with what you're saying, it was the good old boys time.
Oh, it was, and then I got in my car just in shock, and it was a 20-minute drive home, and I started to drive, and whatever happened with that bent key, I bent the key when I saw the man and I started to run. It did something to the starter in my car. So I broke down on the dark highway and just was devastated and had to run into not the forest, but the buffer on the highway to get to houses. And I knocked on 2 or 3 houses. This was at 3 a.m. and no one answered. And at the 4th house, this older couple answered the door. They were frightened. I was a mess. I was sitting. They didn't answer at first, so I was just sitting on their steps crying. And they remember corded phones? They threw their corded phone. I was just saying, "Please, I need to call." They threw the handle thingy, the thing I don't even, why can't I remember what the phone part that
into? It's okay. Yes, that part you talk into.
Yeah, they threw that out to me and just asked me what phone number they should dial. So that, luckily I had gotten my boyfriend's mom. He didn't answer. She answered her phone. She had also moved down there, so they came and got me. But, I called the police department the next day, and conveniently, the police report that I filled out while on the spot disappeared and was never to be seen again.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was very unfortunate for me and left me with quite a lot of rage. And
what about the guy you were dating, or the boyfriend? You guys weren't married yet, right?
Right.
So you were going home to him, correct?
Yes.
So What did you do when you got home? And where did he ever? Well, where there's no way to contact you. So did he think you were working late, or?
Yeah, that club shut down around 2:00 in the morning. And again, you're in the early 90s. I mean, we were the generation that nobody knew where you were 99% of your life because you didn't have phones. Right. So he had already gotten home from work and had been asleep, which is why he didn't answer the phone. And so I just, I showed up and just with his mother and just completely fell apart. And then, went to bed. And the next morning, that's when we called the police to find out, okay, let's get this police report. Where is he? Did you find him? Or not did you find him? Did you take him in? And that's when they told us, we don't know what you're talking about. There's no report.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what happens next? I guess with you and okay. Yeah. What happens next?
So what happens next? And I guess I'm, in line, just like everyone else. You find that out, and that was the key decision for me. This man was going to be in this town somewhere, somehow. And he couldn't be found. And we tried to ask around, have you seen him? He's disappeared. So ultimately we left shortly after, like a month or two, and went to Atlanta, found, apartment and everything set up, and got into grad school a little early. We decided to push it and got in. And like everyone else, I just squashed it in my brain. I never cried. I mean, I cried that first night, and mostly because I don't know, I was broken down on the side of the road. I don't know that I cried because I was attacked or because I was so scared being broken down on the road. Didn't process the two. Like I processed them as two separate incidents. And I think I dealt with one and didn't deal with the other. And so from there, I was okay. What went through my brain was, wow, I'm so stupid. I did the wrong things. Why me? Why couldn't I run faster? Why didn't I try to fight him off? Why didn't I stand at the police station and scream till someone answered me? And I just kind of went on with life. The difference, though, was that I could not be in the house alone at night. I could not go to dark, unfamiliar places where there wasn't a lot of lighting in the parking lot without being just shy of a full-blown panic attack. So that kind of went on for 10 years. What happened is I decided to throw things at myself that were very uncomfortable and just kind of tackle them head on. I didn't realize what I was doing was rewiring my brain, but I went on to have 3 boys. So in a span of 10 years, I went to chiropractic school, graduated. I had 3 boys. I decided to have home births. And I realized, at that point, I thought, I'm in chiropractic, I'm in alternative healthcare. This is what we do. This is strongly what I believe in. I didn't realize what I was doing is saying, this is one of the hardest things you're ever going to have to do. And you need to prove yourself, Kelly, or you're worthless again. And this started to become a theme with me of doing things because I didn't feel good enough. And my last baby was born, he was about 4 years old. And my now husband at the time, or my husband, he said to me, Kelly, you can't be in the house alone. So if he went away, I would stay up all night and I'd go to sleep, 5 a.m. when the sun rose, and then the kids would be up.
Oh, God.
You got to be able to defend yourself and the children, and you have to be able to live a normal life. I'm going to get you. He had met someone that was a Jeet Kune Do, so Bruce Lee, martial arts, self-defense instructor. He said, I'm going to have him come to the house once a week. I want you to start learning self-defense and not the soft self-defense. So I learned headbutts, biting, gun defense, knife defense. And this kind of went on for about a year. And it was really helpful. But there was something inside of me. And I said, I have to do something again. This is great, but I have to prove that this is working. So that's when I decided at the lovely age of 38 that I was going to become an amateur MMA fighter.
Oh my goodness, Kelly, that's massive.
Yeah, that was my...
That's not like a small step. That's not like I'm going to take some classes in Tai Chi and whatever.
No, and I wasn't with an MMA team. I didn't have an MMA coach. I just had Jack Gianello, who did self-defense, and once a week he would come over, and I told them all. I told my entire family, I said, I'm going to take a fight. Can we find me an MMA fight? And I didn't have jujitsu. I had barely any wrestling, and they are like, okay. And I said, I have to do this. I have to fight. I have to show that I can defend myself. And I remember they got me a fight. I went through the whole thing. I loved the training, but they you do your walkout, and I get in the cage. My opponent's half my age. She could have been my child. She's like 20. And I looked across and I was like, oh, I think I've made a mistake. And then I looked around and I was like, where's the bar? Can you let me out of this cage right now? I don't want to do this anymore. And of course they shut the cage door and we started the fight. And she threw the first punch. She broke open my nose it was just bleeding everywhere. And the first thought that went through my head was, did you just punch me? How dare you punch me? I realized then, Kelly, you're in a fight that you asked to do. And then I went on to have several other fights and just kept pushing myself, saying, you have to get comfortable with this very scary situation. And it was scary. And I did four fights, and then my poor face needed to move on from getting hit. So I then started to compete in jiu-jitsu as a way to prove that I was worth something. And that theme then continued throughout my life, just doing something that I was very, very uncomfortable doing, and either failing and trying again or succeeding, but at least proving to myself that I had some value.
Yeah, wow. That's like a massive wake up call, Kelly.
Yeah.
In the most real way. So I guess so then what happened next? I feel like you have all these stages of your life where you learn different things.
I do. I went from that. Then I went to competitive powerlifting, which I'm still involved in. And just the thought of getting out on a giant platform in front of an entire crowd and having to lift heavy weight and hoping you don't fail was another form of making myself very uncomfortable and trying to get through it. And even then, like I would get out to do my first lift and I'd be shaking. I'd be so scared. And, but I had to continually, this is like my form of therapy, I think, is to constantly do this. And I did that. And
okay, let's talk about that for 1 second, because that was so beautiful. I like thinking about my form of therapy was doing this one thing. And, all of our bodies and our processes of how we heal are different. And I think some of us really need the physicality that you're describing. And some of us need the mind stuff, the writing, everyone's so different. And you are one of the first women we've had on the show who has been able to maybe go deeper into the physicality part, which I really like. If you can explain that better, because I know we have some listeners, I'm certain, who absolutely need to, maybe it's run it out or work it out or hurt it out, but don't want to cut and pierce and, you know what I mean? Like self-harm. They want to go in a different direction. And it's still very, I'll say even the word visceral is like, it's very physical and like tangible. So sorry, I interrupted you, but I really, really, really want to hear more.
No, and you're right. For me, the best way that I express myself is through physical things. So pushing that boundary and creating that mental mindset that becomes involved with things like combat sports or heavy weights or anything of that nature is pushing yourself to an extreme and knowing you could fail and knowing it's okay if you fail and you just have to come back and get stronger. And that resonates with me. Again, like having home births, it was the same thing. It was a physical thing I needed to do to prove my body was capable of doing something, because my brain was telling me I was not. So if my body did it, it put my brain at ease. But it was never enough. I did. So then I was auditioned for American Ninja.
Wait, when you say never enough, maybe let's also talk about that for a second. Sorry, Kelly, I'm like,
No,
I really love, seriously, like I am so loving everything you're talking about, because it's so helpful. And you may not have ever talked to someone like me, but I really, really, really love our conversation and your willingness to like think with me about some of these things. Like when you say it wasn't enough, here's my equivalent. You know, I too really need to get it out physically. And I think if it feels really, really hard and I am hurting so badly with physical pain after working out the muscles, I'm like, I did something that eventually the hurt will heal. I don't know how to say that differently, but it's like if I tried running a marathon, like not exactly, oh my God, you are way more fierce than I, but I think it's like when I try something really new and my body really, really hurts, I feel like that's the kind of hurt I want. I don't want to have the hurt where I'm raped, like that kind. I want the kind of hurt where it feels like my body is growing, and instead of like, and I'm choosing it too, right? I'm choosing the hurt. I'm choosing the hurt. And so that's the best hurt. It's like if fire is fire in my belly, I'm like, I got this. Like I have total control of the hurt. It's going to be really painful. And I like it better than some of our, you know, sometimes I feel like some of our listeners, survivors, they go to self-harm. They're cutting, and that's hurt too. But it's like, do I need the scar? Do I need to look at it? Because the internal growth of our body, like especially, hello, you and me, like if there's some women who are going to be older than us who can still pick up a weight, and there are women who are younger than us who can start to think like, instead of cutting, I want a different kind of pain. So I just wanted to like talk that through more with you before you said I needed to move on. It wasn't enough because I wanted to be enough. I wanted you to tell me it was really good, but if it wasn't, maybe like why wasn't it? Or maybe there's still some aspect, or there's some part of it that was good and there's other parts that weren't. Maybe it was the competition. Or can I delve into that with you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to your point, when you do these physical, I believe these physical things to kind of overcome, it's more about control and choosing the pain versus someone choosing it for you and inflicting it on you. You get to choose what you feel, and to a certain degree, you can control that pain and what's being done to you. And that, again, for me is super therapeutic, and it just helps me get through, even if it hurts, even if I can't even believe that I did it or why I got involved, but at least I picked it and I controlled it.
Hey everybody, it's Katie Koestner. Just a quick interruption. We want you to know that there is an entire shop full of cool merch on the Take Back the Night website to support your own healing journey, that of someone you care about. There are t-shirts, there's bracelets, there's glow-in-the-dark stuff. There's all kinds of unique special edition from our artist series as well. So please take a look if it's a holiday or a special occasion or just a gift to yourself. Support Take Back the Night through your purchase. Yeah, that totally makes 100% sense. And I hope our listeners will also, try it. If you haven't, maybe, I think it's always the rainbow approach. Like,
right.
You don't know if you're a purple girl, a green girl, until you try every flavor out there, you don't know what you're missing.
Mm-hmm.
And it might work. So totally agree. So then what's next?
So then was American Ninja Warrior. I put myself through that audition and was so scared to do that. I was, now at this point, I'm 40 years old, and they passed me through the audition because they thought, oh, we have this 40-year-old amateur MMA fighter, mom of three. This is going to make for a great story, and we have really high hopes for this one. And they brought me in for a media day where they pumped up my story, and then the next night was auditions in May, or the first run in May in Denver, season 4. It was 33 degrees out, and we were at the middle of the night is when they had us.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, it was terrible. It was a 7:00 casting call, and there was no furnaces, no heaters. There was nothing, and they made us stand out there till 11. That's when they started running contestants, and they gave us like 5 seconds to warm up. And I'm standing there with, gymnasts and parkour people, and they're in their 20s. And again, I'm like, what have I done? Why did I choose to do this? And then they brought my family, my kids, gave them signs because they seriously had big hopes for me.
Oh my God. You sound like the poster child now.
No, so I know
I'm worried being abused again.
they tell me, you're up, number 15, you're up. And I was like, okay, here we go. I'm freezing. I don't know what I'm doing. Never trained for this. And I start going. And if anybody that's watched it has seen the first thing you got to get through is the quad steps to get to jump up. If not, you slide into water. And I start going, and I'm like, I got this. I don't have this at all. And the last step, I didn't land right. And so when I jumped to get up the wall, all you heard was fingernails. I missed by an inch, and my fingernails just dragged down the wall, and I went into this cold water. And I think I made a blooper reel on YouTube somewhere. I'm pretty sure I did. But
we have to put that in show notes so they can everyone not like only if you're comfortable.
Oh, I don't care. I don't know if it is or not, but I think for at least at some point I was. Those poor producers, they really had high hopes. But again, it was something that I just was like, I'm going to do this. I don't care how scared I am. And then from there, I moved on into powerlifting. I moved to Charleston. I needed that next thing that was going to challenge me and give me an outlet. So I started powerlifting. I started competing on the world level. I hold world records currently. I'm sure someone out there is going to take them anytime.
Oh,
but that's okay.
Wait. What's how many? You said plural. What do you have the records in?
I have the world records in all the events that I competed in. So squat, deadlift, bench, and then overall total. But it goes by age group and weight. So, I'm going to jump into a next age group next year in the 55s. So I got another chance to.
You must do it. We will all be tuned in.
I'll do it.
Every listener is going to be cheering you on.
Yeah, I'm definitely.
It was one of those voting ones where we could all use 10 platforms and vote for you every night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We could cast our votes for you.
But then, so I've been doing that, and then that's when I got involved. As my age, I've always stayed very heavily involved in women's health from whatever, and it was usually whatever stage I was in. So when I was in childbearing, I became a certified childbirth educator, and I taught online classes for midwifery school while I was raising the babies. And I stayed in that. And then in my practice, most of my clients were in that age group. And then somebody didn't tell me, your mom doesn't tell you that your baby factory shuts down and all hell breaks loose when that happens.
Oh, God.
So that's when in my clients and myself, I started noticing, wow, all the things that happen with hormones and perimenopause, this big word nobody told us about. And so that's where I got involved with menopause. And as we all know, now it's getting a big voice, but it hadn't in the past. And honestly, I truly felt like when you have someone, and it's hard to find someone who doesn't have some form of trauma in their life. It runs the rainbow of trauma. And for me, I was finding women, because their hormones were changing, things were surfacing more. So if you didn't have anything in the past, if you were just going through perimenopause or menopause, it's just like PMS, only intensified with, like, you get really depressed, or you start crying on the spot, things like that. Well, I started noticing women that things that they had hidden or buried were really coming out now, and they didn't even understand it or didn't know how to deal with it, or they'd have something where their physicians, because they weren't educated enough yet on menopause, they felt unheard or shut out, and it was just amplifying everything else that was bottled up inside of them. And I started this company because I wanted to give a Western and an Eastern alternative healthcare approach and education and choices to women. And I sat there for a while and I thought, I want women to have a voice to tell their story, because everybody's story going through this phase of life is so important, and we don't want to talk about it. So it's always awesome to hear someone that will talk about it, and you could either relate or pick something out from it. But I thought I should do a podcast. I am deathly afraid of public speaking. And it was the next phase. It clicked. Make yourself do this podcast. Give this voice to these women. Put yourself in a vulnerable, scary position. Get very comfortable with being uncomfortable. It was the first one that wasn't physical for me. And that's why I started the podcast. And, here we are today. I don't know what the next adventure. I just picked up boxing again. So we'll see. It's been 1 week. Maybe I'll try to get into the old ladies boxing event or something, if there is one. But I had to do something again.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I think maybe could we talk a little bit more about the two other things, like the beginning, the childbirth, and then also the menopause part?
Sure.
I think, I don't know how many of our listeners have been through childbirth or want to go through childbirth, but, I remember earlier in our conversation, you talked about that being like a very physical, painful experience, which I know myself it is. But, I guess what is your goal to help women in that stage of life? And then we can get to the menopause stage.
In the childbirth stage, so I will say, and really what became a big thing for me, and I went through an experience, was all three were supposed to be home births. But the very first child I was going to be a water birth, and I was in my apartment in my big water birthing tub, and I had my midwife, a great team of people, and I was surrounded by awesome people. And I got to 9 centimeters dilated, and the baby slowed down. He just didn't want to move. Nothing. It wouldn't go any further after several hours. So the laws in Colorado are pretty strict on home births. So we broke my water. There is meconium that says that the baby is in distress. So you need to transport. So we transported to a hospital in the middle of the night in a snowstorm. I can't do anything normal, I guess, but we went in a snowstorm, and I ended up, the doctor was just so upset that he was 30 minutes from the end of his shift, and here comes this renegade home birther, and he gave me maybe 15 minutes, and I walked my way through that hospital. They tried to put me in a wheelchair. I was like, no, this baby will come out. And the doctor did not want to wait. So he said, we have to hit you with Pitocin, and then we have to give you an epidural, because guess what? You're getting a C-section. And ultimately I had a C-section. And obviously the health of the baby was the most important thing. And so I'm so grateful that he was born, he was healthy. But there was a situation where I then felt I failed, that my body was... Oh, wow. Yeah. I get emotional again.
No. Oh my gosh.
It was broken. So I didn't get depressed. I suppressed it. I did tell my midwife, the first day, and she was like, no, and she had gone through the same experience. So she said, this is normal. This will be okay. And then, you fall in love with your baby, and then that lovely thing where you forget everything that happened during labor and all that. But I was determined, and then it became a mission that I would do everything I could. I exercised, I ate right. I was going to have the next 2 babies at home. And I did. And it started to heal that wound. But I realized that women go through childbirth, and we ultimately think it's this very almost romantic situation, or it's very like, I want to see Disney version of it, that it's going to be this great loving, birds are going to sing, you're going to look beautiful, and it's not going to hurt too bad. And then a lot of women end up feeling very depressed, or they feel like they didn't, like their body wasn't as strong as they thought it was. The experience wasn't what it was. And they come down on themselves saying, why aren't you happy about what just happened? Why aren't you living the commercialized version of pregnancy and childbirth? Or a lot of women who have C-sections that didn't plan for them feel broken like I did, feel like they just didn't know how to birth a baby. So I wanted to instill confidence in women and have them understand they're not broken, that they were very strong. And this is an incredibly hard thing to do. And they brought a child into the world, and that they were very, very successful. That's what had me in that stage of life, is what I wanted to impart on women. And
wow, so powerful and well said, Kelly. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for continuing to take the journey on the Dear Survivor podcast. A quick note, we are 100% volunteer at the podcast and at Take Back the Night. Your donations, your generosity helps us do what we do on such a shoestring budget. And we would be so grateful if this show is helping you through your journey and you are passing it along to others you care about. Please visit the Take Back the Night website and donate and support our cause and our mission to end sexual violence and support survivors. Thank you. Yes. So now keep going. Are you going to talk about the menopause stage too?
Yeah. So that's when you get into menopause, and I start hearing all the women saying, and the theme is the same. I'm broken. Why am I feeling like this? What's wrong with me? I'm defective. That was kind of what was going through my brain initially. Like, why is my body failing me in ways that I don't understand when it was so powerful before? And there was no solution that women were finding, or not enough guidance. And that's when I really decided, okay, we have another 30 to 50 years, hopefully 50, left to live. Our children, for the most part, are either at high school, or they're getting ready to go to college, or we're empty nesters. We no longer are in charge of taking care of everyone and everything all the time. And so why don't we start investing and falling in love with ourselves? And why are we saying like, well, we're not having children anymore. Our hormones are betraying us. We kind of have no biological purpose anymore. And it becomes a depressing thought. And I thought, you know what? Hell no. No, we have the next 30, 50 years. Why not make them the best of our lives? We've got time to invest in ourselves. We are just as awesome and beautiful as we were in our 20s. We can put on that black dress and those heels and go have a great time. We're wiser. We're stronger mentally now. And that is the way we should march into this second half of our life. And I wanted women to understand that. I wanted them to go, wow, I'm starting to gain weight in my belly because hormones and this and that. And, my husband isn't going to want to look at me. My libido is non-existent. And I wanted them to stop that and to start thinking, no, look at you. Look at all that you've accomplished. If you wrote down everything that you've done in your life, you'd shock yourself. You'd repeat back to yourself, I'm a rock star. And that's how I want women to feel. And I don't want them. I want them to go into this season knowing there's some uncomfortable things that are going to happen. They will pass, and you need to enjoy your best life right now.
I love that so much, Kelly. Totally. Let's round out with just a couple summarize. I mean, you gave a million good thoughts. But I always like to kind of end the conversation with two really like your go-tos when things get really hard as a survivor and you're not good enough or you're taking a dark history moment. What helps you pull yourself out?
I think one of the things I always tell myself, because you always, at least I always end up experiencing this, is I hype something up to be so uncomfortable or so scary, and then I push myself to get through it, and then when it's all said and done, you're like, that wasn't so bad. So I started to try to really remind myself every time, you're making this worse than it is. If it's an emotional breakdown, this isn't the end of the world. There's so much out there for you. So it feels horrible right now, and in a few minutes, tomorrow, whenever it is, you're gonna be a little upset with yourself about how scared you were. So it's gonna be okay. I guess that's it. It's gonna be okay, and believe in yourself that it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I love that, but I like a nuanced, because I really like how like, what if you're trying to get to sleep and you're just like rehashing all the badness? Remember when you slept, you not at all, Kelly?
Yeah.
You said you were up until 5.
Yeah.
That's so hard on your body. And I could not agree with you more that being able to sleep is such a luxury. You know, I'll say it's like you don't want to have nightmares. You get uncomfortable. Then your body might be uncomfortable.
Right.
Then you might have to think, oh my God, my partner, I'm not like, I don't have anyone in the room with me sleeping, or maybe I do, or maybe I don't. You know, there's a million. I think sleep and rest and regrouping after a really hard day is something that is so hard for us, like all of us. And the complexity, what if you say to your partner, like, nope, I kind of want to sleep on the blow up bed tonight, or like, I want to sleep on the floor. I don't want to be in the same room, or I want to sleep in a hotel tonight, or, you know, you could come up with a zillion things.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's not even to sleep, but it's to be in a different headspace.
Exactly.
You know, I don't know. I feel like I really get you a lot. Because I've struggled with so many of like the same things. And I know our listeners probably do too, but it's really hard to articulate it. And I feel like we're getting somewhere tonight with a conversation. But anyway, maybe just we end on like some ideas for sleep. Because sometimes I do like stay awake until 5, even now. Like if my headspace is too upset.
Mm-hmm. And
then, yeah, you go.
And if you think about it, sleep, and it's something that we don't pay enough attention to, we don't give enough credit to, and it's real. And I was one of those people, especially when you're raising kids or you have a very demanding job, or you almost took it as a mantra, like I can get by on 3 hours of sleep. But it is I now know it is one of the most important things, especially when you have things locked inside your brain or inside your, in your chest, in your body, and you're holding them. If you don't get enough sleep, your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, that just flies through the roof and puts you in fight or flight. That's cortisol's job, is fight or flight if it's elevated. So if you think about that, and you think about you're already battling with fight or flight on a daily basis, if you haven't addressed these feelings inside of you and your thoughts. So you have to start creating a ritual around your sleep, and that'll look different for everyone. It could be just like you said, it might be, I feel very safe and comfortable if I go sleep on the couch. Nothing to do with your partner. It's just what resonates with you on that night. Or for me, I always make a cup of tea or something warm at night. It just kind of brings me down and centers me. Some people like to read, but whatever it is that you can do that creates a ritual that signals your brain and your body, it's time to let these thoughts go. We're just going to relax. We want to get to sleep. We want to think of good things. Find that and practice that ritual. It could be yoga. It could be stretching, whatever it is. Find that ritual for yourself. Let your body prepare that this is the time you're going to unplug and lay your head down, and you're going to try your hardest not to think about anything. It's really important.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, Kelly, I just simply want to honor everything you've shared, and the whole emotional roller coaster we both went on. It's been such a joy for me to talk it through with you and reminisce as well. From the start to the end. And I hope that, I know you're going to be continuing to go forward. Oh, in show notes, where would you like our listeners to go find out more about what you're doing? Where can they, I know you're going to try out in age 55, so we can look at you there. How do we support you?
You actually, the easiest, I have the websites for mytempesta.com. But the easiest is I made my Instagram public, and if you're into a lot of really bad memes, I post a lot of them. They're hysterical. That's my therapy at night. Okay. Sit with my hot beverage, and then I'll just send 700 people really not funny memes, but to me, I'm cracking up, and then I can go to sleep.
And they have not abandoned you, your followers.
I realized I need to put more out there about myself and as everybody else is doing, and that could help people. So I'll often repost stuff on menopause, or just here's what Kelly's doing today, and you can roll your eyes. But it's I am Kellfire. So the letter I, AM, KELLFIRE on Instagram. And I will talk to anybody. I really
Perfect.
will. I mean, I find, to me, talking to people and hearing other people's stories is very therapeutic for myself. So I'm an open book.
I love that, Kelly. Thank you for your generosity and your spirit and all your grit and determination. I think you give a lot of ways that everyone can find some part of their life and latch onto something you've tried and maybe try it for themselves. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Katie.
Absolutely. And again, for our listeners, my goodness, I feel I hope that each and every one of you are just wow, here's another thing I can learn. Here's another thing, and try and try and try. So I would encourage you all to look up Kelly, though, just for the coolness of her tattoos, which you won't see on a screen, but you can definitely see her badges of courage and honor. So find more in the show notes. Look for Kelly on a screen, big or small, and continue together. We are not alone. We are continually striving for more healing, more strength, and more survivorship. So thank you for journeying on with all of us. And Kelly, an honor to meet you and have you on the show.
Likewise, Katie.
All right. Take care till next week. Bye-bye. Thank you again, everybody, for joining another episode of the Dear Katie podcast. I hope very much you found today's episode helpful, empowering, and a way to take another step in that long journey toward healing and supporting those we care about, learning about sexual violence prevention, and also survivor support. For those of you who don't know, again, the Take Back the Night website has tons of great resources, books, self-care options, cool merch. If you're feeling like you need a wearable, we have great t-shirts. Of course, we would love it if you follow along on our free newsletter with news and events going on around the country and even around the globe. And finally, don't forget to like us and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You'll find our entire community popping up here and there, and recaps of our podcast episodes as well. So together we shatter the silence, and together we end the violence. Take care.